In our first story, government has established a 3-member commission of inquiry into the violence that marred last Thursday's by-election in the Ayawaso Wogong constituency here in Accra. Former Shrat Commissioner, Professor Emil Short, will chair the commission. The statement issued and signed by the Director of Communications at the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, reads. It says, the acting President of the Republic, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has, with the consent of the President, Nana-Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, set up a commission of inquiry into the event of violence which occurred during the by-election held in the Ayawaso West Wogong constituency on January 31, 2019. It continues, the commission is composed of Justice Emil Short as chair, Mrs. Henrietta Mensah Bonsu as a member, Patrick K. Champong as a member. Mr. Ernest Kofi Abochi, a former dean of the Faculty of Law, GIMPA, and a private legal practitioner, has also been appointed as secretary to the commission, according to the statement. Well, the terms of reference of the commission are A, to make full, faithful, and impartial inquiry into the circumstances of and also establish the facts leading to the event and associated with the violence during the Ayawaso West Wogong by-elections on the 31st of January 2019. Also, to identify any person responsible for or who has been involved in the event associated with violence and injuries. C, to inquire into any matter which the Commission considers incidental or reasonably related to the causes of the event and the associated violence and injuries. D, to submit within 1 month its report to the President, giving reasons for its findings and recommendations, including appropriate sanctions if there are any, according to the statement. Meanwhile, the opposition NDC is challenging claims by the Electoral Commission that the by-election in the Ayawaso West Wogong constituency was peaceful and successful. The NDC boycotted last Thursday's polls over the violent clashes that left many injured. General Secretary of the party, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, insists that the violence disrupted the process and currently wants the Electoral Commission to be candid.
Well, the commission sought to present a picture that the by-elections were very successful, very peaceful, and so on. And so this commentary did not find favor with majority of the parties present. And we're wondering what their criteria is in calling an election successful or peaceful. And so those were the issues around which the debate arose. In spite of all that, they said the election was peaceful. And so that is why the commission, that is why the political parties felt that, look, you cannot call this election peaceful. And the explanation that none of their polling stations officials were attacked is, to say the least, a very lame explanation. You cannot say that when there is violence that intimidated people, about 16 people were injured and they are in hospital, and these are all election related, and you are in charge of an election, and you come to report to the nation that the election was peaceful. I don't get it, because none of your staff was attacked and the voting process was not disrupted, so that makes the election peaceful. It is not any explanation that should sit well with it. In fact, we disputed the fact that this claim of Ayawaso by-election being peaceful and the basis for the commission arriving at that conclusion is wrongful, and it should not be entertained at all anywhere, because it will ridicule the commission itself. If any election management body can call this Ayawaso West Wogon election as peaceful, then they don't know what they're about.
On the other hand, the General Secretary of the MPP, John Buedo, is disputing the assertions.
IPAC for Electoral Commission to be detailing polling station to polling station. These people were beating here, these people were beating there, and all that. We were all at Akwetia. Just 7 polling stations. Then the NDC, gas President Mama said, they were masters at unleashing violence. And we all saw it. When we came back to IPAC, the Electoral Commissioner or commissioners giving their report, they don't take us through. They even witness it directly. People who don't vote in polling stations were voting with abandon, with even confidence. You understand? They beat people up, they maim people. We came back to IPAC and nobody discussed anything. We just discussed the result.
The NDC says that most political parties disagreed and actually fumed at the Electoral Commission for concluding that the election was peaceful.
Which are the most political parties talking about?
You think? I mean, that's not accurate.
That is not accurate. They were
accurate?
Please. Did they also tell you that when they raised the flag that electoral?
Right, let's breathe some clean air away from politics for a moment. The United Nations Agency of Food and Agriculture says that hunger is on the rise, and for the 3rd year in a row there has been a rise in world hunger, with those facing chronic food deprivation increasing to nearly 821 million in 2017. That's from around 804 million in 2016. Assistant Director General of Food and Agriculture Organization, Abebe Haile Gabriel, at a news conference in Accra, explains that hunger and malnutrition are adversely impacting productivity in Africa and including Ghana. Henry Kwesi-Bedu has more in this report.
We do not in Africa control prices in the world markets. We produce primary products, minerals, fuel, agricultural products. As price takers, the revenues, government revenues and traders' revenues have been in fact impacted due to what happens globally. So high level of vulnerability to different kinds of shocks characterize one of the second issue surrounding agri-food issues in Africa. What has been the impact of this? What is the result of this? Of course, the most evident is hunger and malnutrition. And Africa is known for that. And what is worrying is that the number of malnourished people recently are increasing instead of declining. Our own report, FAO report, that has been published in 2018, and this is the latest, shows that since 2015, malnourishment has been on the rise, despite the fact that there has been a lot of commitments and declarations to end hunger and malnutrition in Africa by 2025 and globally by 2030, as you know. So Ghana has commitments, regional commitments, as part of the African Union Malabo commitments to end hunger and malnutrition by 2025, but also as part of the global commitment on 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development to end hunger and malnutrition by 2030.
Now let's take you to the Ashanti region, and a section of the main Accra-Kumasi highway in the Konongo-Dumasi area is to be closed temporarily to traffic, and this is due to some structural defects detected. Authorities say they have detected huge gullies beneath the asphalted surface, which pose potential danger to road users. Residents along the affected areas have so far been ordered to evacuate to allow for work to begin immediately. Prince Apia has more on the development.
Close to the main Kumasi-Accra road at Akantiebesa in Konongo is this big, deep gully eating into the main road gradually. Residents say it began developing over 5 years ago and has since extended almost half into the main road. These mechanics here have a clue of what could have started this disaster waiting to happen. It was not this big. They used to do alluvial mining here. The water from the mine caused this gully. Authorities have moved to fix the road and other bridges at Odumasi Zongo and Odumasi Township. Some structures have already been earmarked for demolition. This means residents must evacuate immediately. Nobody will survive if there's an accident. We are ready to relocate because fixing the road is important to us. It is unclear when closure of the road will be affected, but detours are being created to ease the traffic on the stretch during the construction period. Occupants of temporary structures near the restricted areas are pleading they be allowed to stay so they can reoccupy after work is completed. We will leave, but we cannot build new structures, so they should allow our structures to stand so we can reoccupy after the work is done. Susan Akomia is Municipal Chief Executive for Santiachem Central. She pleads with residents to relocate to pave way for the reconstruction of the broken bridges.
We don't want any accident to happen in that area. So I will take this opportunity to plead with those along that area which have been marked with the red crosses to move immediately because the work is just about to start. We should not put any impediments on their way so that the work can carry on as smoothly as possible so that he can move to the other two areas.
Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah says no compensation will be paid on property found in these construction paths.
We know that under EI, that is Executive Instrument 17 of 2004, compensation was paid to most of the people, or to all the people who were affected then. So all those who have reconstructed the demolished properties and all those who are erecting temporary structures, they should not think that when the project recommences, they will be paid compensation. No compensation will be paid. Because according to the laws of the country, compensation is not paid on the same project twice.
Meanwhile, many are excited these are being fixed before any disaster happens. Prince Apia reporting.
Prince Apia there. Now, in Ethiopia, the African Union says it is closely monitoring how Ghana's Office of the Special Prosecutor will deal with the canker of corruption. According to the African Union Advisory Board on Corruption, the office appears to be a good move, but its implementation will justify its existence. JoyNews' Joseph Akable, who is participating in an African Union dialogue ongoing in Ethiopia, has been speaking to the AU's Political and Legal Affairs Policy Advisor, and now reports.
Wednesday's dialogue largely focused on migration and issues of forced displacement. The International Migration Organization wants the AU to back local initiatives championed by refugees.
The AU should also support local peace-building initiatives led by refugees and IDPs so that even while displaced, refugees can contribute to strengthen relationships among citizens and serve as agents of peace.
Other participants made a case for legislation.
And we think that at a certain point, IDPs can only claim their rights when you have serious legal frameworks to deal with that. In some other countries, the multiplicity of institutions that are responsible for IDPs creates a whole kind of contestations among these various institutions.
The issue of corruption on the continent has engaged the attention of the African Union for years. The Office of the Special Prosecutor was set up in Ghana to combat the menace. Political and legal advisor of the African Union Advisory Board, Selimani Kinyunyunu, says the rest of the continent is keenly monitoring Ghana.
Ghana has recently unveiled a very interesting mechanism, the Special Prosecutor on Corruption, and this is seen as a way to deal with high-level corruption, which has been a challenge across the continent. It's very easy to target low-level corruption, but big government tenders that are mismanaged, these are always difficult because of the political connection. So I think this is one interesting example that could be replicated. Time will tell how well it does, but it's a positive innovation.
It has so far been 3 days of intense engagement from civil society organizations and youth from various African countries. The big discussions will take place on the 10th and 11th of February, where African heads of state are expected to converge here at the African Union's headquarters to discuss ways of finding sustainable solutions to challenges facing refugees who find themselves in various countries on the African continent. I'll be here to bring you the very latest. My name is Joseph Akabde, reporting from the African Union's headquarters in Addis Ababa.
Joseph Akabde, a lot colder than he'd rather be.
The weather is cold, eh?
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Sunlight.
Anyway,
Ethiopia. Joseph Akabde.
Anyway, Joseph Akabde will be reporting more from this all-important African event. But that's all for the news.
Well, definitely. But we have more news. So we'll review the newspapers, look at the headlines and myjoyonline.com. Well, we'll also bring you the latest traffic watch from town, and it's ketsytraffic.com.gh.
Absolutely. Stay tuned.